So, manza countdown. So, what I'm trying to do is to stop doing this. When I sit on this chair, always I find myself putting my feet up on you. So I want to have a conversation with someone. Without So, uko tayari? So the tech, photography and tech, that's the basically what you're covering. So tunataka kuanza. Sawa?
Yes, so una guide topic, utauliza maswali.
Itakuwa more of conversation na maswali.
Okay.
Yeah.
But mostly when you're the question.
Mostly me don't lead.
When do you need to nini? Question.
Examine.
Nisipate pia mimi ndio na kuinterview.
Iko tu sawa by there because the idea is equate to like a conversation and the guys who are listening are the fly in the room.
So from the start unaipanga aje like tutajiintroduce majina which is important for new viewers. Profession. And then utaanza topic yako na nini?
Usijali takam.
But majina maybe introduction.
I just do the flow. I go with the flow. We just watch video yote nimefanya.
Niliwatch ile nyingine especially ya PM ndio nilikuwa natumia wase.
Ya PM
ku manage project ile stuff. Like details ile yenye nilipea idea.
Hiyo achana.
Ya ku price.
Ya ku interview wase.
Sijaona hiyo bado.
Sawa, acha tu go na flow. Alafu if you notice something that you need to chip in, you just chip in, Sawa, tunaanza. Alright, hi guys, welcome again to another episode of Co-Motivated. Thank you guys for joining. And of course today we have another guest, David. David, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
You good?
I'm good.
Yeah, thank you for showing up, man.
Thank you.
It's not always easy to you're never sure if you could reach out to someone if they're going to show up.
Yeah.
David has showed up, and he didn't just show up, he showed up big time.
Yeah, he paid well.
So even if you notice, the camera work, the light works here is different. You probably will notice a few changes. We probably have even clarity in terms of the video that we are capturing right now. It's because of David mwenyewe.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I've known David for quite a while. David, we've known each other for
almost 7 years.
7 years, yeah. It's and it's still growing strong. And do you remember how we met?
Yeah.
Of course. yeah. So maybe we can just begin from there. So
I'm David Kariuki.
Yeah.
I'm a software engineer and part-time photographer. So I met Cecil back in college. I was studying in Zalego doing software engineering certification back then. So Cecil came later to guide us on project management and the whole life cycle of a software build. Yeah. So that was back in April 2016.
Yeah, he remembers the month. I have no idea. Yeah. How was the experience? First of all, how was your experience in college, being trained by someone who is younger? Because I think at the time I was below 30, I think.
Yeah, but you are scary.
I was scary. What makes someone scary?
You know, this is the time you are just used to tutors who are not that serious.
Yeah.
And then you're doing Java, you're doing web, you're just jumping all over. Then someone just comes out of nowhere with a very strict planning on how to build a software.
Yeah.
So at first it was quite cool until you came, and then pressure started. Yeah. But overall it was quite good because we understood why we need to be serious with things like SRS documentation, why we need to plan a software and how it will start to the end without just jumping, writing code and expecting results. So yeah, it was quite good.
Pleasure, man. I think that sounds like a compliment. Yeah, but that's nice. But just from the beginning, let's just start from the beginning. Why software?
So I've always wanted to do software since back in high school. So back then I started with batch files. We used to make some funny viruses in high school so that we don't go to class. Yeah. Especially the computer classes, because most of us wanted to go to the library, do C++, do something of the sort. So I started coding with some funny scripts, some funny viruses, and some botnets. Then I just took an interest I asked myself, these tools that I use, how do people make them? How can I make my own kind of Windows or a Linux? Yeah. So that drove my spirit to venture into software. So back then I think the first thing I ever did was a markup, HTML, and then I moved to some bit of JavaScript. Then within the same year, that was in Form 4, I started C++. So I've never looked back because at least I I got the answer to my interest. I knew how to turn lines of code into a working program. So at times, at times I never understood what I was doing. So I could go back to MS Success, build something and see that it works, and then try to replicate the same in CPP. Then that's how I started. Yeah.
Okay. So guys, there's something that I want you guys not to lose in this conversation. We are not talking about tech. We're talking about career. So, David, we're going to learn something important here, that what the journey that David has taken, in how he started his journey in tech does not necessarily mean that you're talking about tech, but it's how he decided to, how he made that decision to pursue a career of his choice, how he navigated through it, and on top of that, how he was able to double hat between photography and tech. So put that in mind. So remember, it's not about tech, it's about career decisions and growth. So how are you able to make that decision? Was it influenced by anything?
Photography.
Tech.
Okay, tech, mostly it was just a matter of interest. I used to have a laptop at home and I just wanted to know more about how this stuff works. So I see a lot of programs. How can I build mine? I see the hardware. How can I understand what goes on from the kernel into the hardware and back into the front-facing software? So I just needed a broad understanding on how does this machine that I love so much do my stuff. So that was the main point of interest, just curiosity.
How old were you?
Oh, I think 16.
16. So that's from
16,
2.
15.
That's high school level.
Yeah.
From 2, from 1, from 2.
So before Form 1, actually just did ICDL. Back then the interest was growing, but it was not that much.
Yeah.
So once I joined Form 1, that's when most of the curiosity came in. Because I was thrown into a school with a very big computer lab and there's all these computers and a lot of routers and switches, and I needed to understand how do these systems work together.
Yeah.
So it was just driven by continuous curiosity.
So this is just tech, curious to see how things work, or know how things work. What about photography?
Photography was quite a different one.
Was it earlier on or later on?
It was later.
Way later.
There's this time when I was called into Masinde Muliro to partake computer science.
Yeah.
So since I had started first with college and I really understood what I needed in software, I went to campus and found it so boring. So I decided to drop out. I did my first year. It was so boring. Yes, you're getting good results and all. I passed the calculus test and everything, but I felt that this is not what I expected in campus. So I dropped out. So I had a 1-year window to maybe think, am I going back to school? Will I just venture into an open space where I'll train myself as I learn other things as I think of a startup space? So later, back then I used to love photos on Instagram. So I used to post a lot of photos, and that's what gave me quite a number of followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
So one day I just woke up and wondered, why can't I take my own photos instead of seeing something great by another person and sharing it? So that was the only reason I went into photography. I just wanted my own ideas. I wanted my own creativity to be shared out there instead of maybe coming to share photos of bikes, flowers and all from different people. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So this is interesting. So you decided to quit computer science. How did you come to that? I'm trying to imagine the conversation that you're having and the courage that you got to even now finally make that decision. Take us through that process.
So once I went into the university, I was quite aware of what I was going to meet there. There's this myth that computer science will make you a computer guru. Just a syllabus with a lot of trash in it. Sorry to say, but the syllabus is not well regulated and it's not well structured to get you where you are going. So I felt frustrated at some point because I had so many units that I felt did not help me overally, especially since I just needed to focus on a single space within software or IT. So I thought about it for quite a while. With every day, it got more boring. Yeah. Yes, it's challenging, but I don't feel like I am learning. Yeah. And also, I was in a town that never gave me challenges. I don't like, it was in Kakamega. I don't like slow towns. I don't get why I need to pay 100 shillings for food and I'm quite comfortable. I have no challenges in life. Yeah. I can't find internet outside campus. So the whole idea frustrated me. And I needed to be in a place maybe with more colleges where I could go maybe train faster, train in a more specialized way, and have to specialize in something that I prefer doing in the long run.
Yeah.
So back then I was an Android engineer. The syllabus never had so much of Android, and not so much of coding. Either way, most of the units we did used to have maybe basic C++, basic C. That was it. So I just needed to go to an environment that maybe I could join a college as I do other stuff, and maybe have time to do my own personal projects. So I thought about it for quite a while. And then it came that moment when I was just tired. There were strikes in the school and all, so they gave me more boost just to make that decision.
Yeah.
So I completed the second semester. I went home and decided not to come back. So I just packed my things and went home.
Interesting. What was your parents' reaction?
They were shocked.
Did they know that you had quit?
No, I never wanted to involve them because it will be trouble.
Yeah.
So I decided to face them at home.
Okay.
So just come with my bags. They asked if we're having strikes at school. If I've been chased away from school, I said no. I told them I've quit school. They laughed it off, and then we had food. And then I told them, by the way, I was serious. I was not joking. I've left school.
Yeah.
So my dad called all his brothers home. This guy has refused not to learn. He has refused not to go to the university. He wants to be stupid in the society. I told them I'm not stupid. It's not like I don't have a plan. So I outlaid for them my 2-year plan, which was maybe going back to a college and taking more courses in software and information security.
Yeah.
So I outlaid it well. We talked about the concerns of having a degree in the current market. I told them that maybe later I will venture into that, maybe just join a school for that, which I did. I went to JKUAT later. So I just went back to Nairobi. I found out that the college I was supposed to join had already started a session, so I decided I won't wait. So I went online, did my own stuff, and at the same time I even joined a photography school. That helped me to learn faster because I knew I don't have much time to keep practicing photography. So I just went to a school which would give me so much pressure, so many assignments, so many projects, so that I can learn within 4 months. So it was quite a challenge, but I did it. So after that, that's when I decided to go back to school. Join JKUAT, yeah.
So you quit school, you were able to have a conversation with your parents, and you told them this is the reason why I'm quitting, and this is what I want to do to help me transition.
Yeah.
What you picked was photography, and were you able to do the security course?
Yeah, alone.
But on your own, eh?
I never wanted to give them a whole plan so that they are not so expectant of what I'm doing. I told them it's a long-term process, and the 2-year plan is just a start, not even the final. So I just told them I know what I'm doing. There was a lot of scaffolds back at home.
Yeah.
But I told them this is my life. You won't force me to do what I don't want to do to please you.
Yeah.
And I told them you'll just come to appreciate maybe 5 years later. Of which now they are so happy.
They can see you. They
don't even talk about that.
Yeah.
It got lost all in history. So I just told them that I have this good plan where I need to join a college as I try to do some freelance work, and also I'll venture into photography at some point. So I told them that as much as maybe you are seeing the picture is not quite clear right now, after some time it will come to make sense.
So the only thing that they were gonna pay for was the photography.
Yeah.
And they were sold.
They had no choice.
Okay. Which one was cheaper? Going to Masinde Muliro or?
Masinde was cheaper because that was Coops back then.
Okay.
JKUAT was quite expensive because literally I refused to go to the main campus because of a similar situation I had back in Masinde Muliro. So I didn't see why I need to go to a campus, a very big campus that has strikes and all.
Yeah.
And maybe I wouldn't get the opportunity to maybe take evening studies so that maybe during the day I could do my own stuff like sleeping, doing a lot of coding, maybe meeting with people that mentor me, going to tech events and all. So most of the time I used to work at night after my classes, and then maybe mid-morning just sleep and then wake up, do a lot. Maybe I will take on a freelance project. So that was my whole year literally. My photography classes only, I used to go for those lessons only maximum twice a week.
Okay.
So it gave me quite the time to prepare for other things in my plan and maybe to venture into other stuff, the other things that I needed to do. Some were certain, some were not certain. So it was a risk in the end, but yeah.
So you're saying when they accepted, you went to photography training, and also you were able to do freelancing at the same time?
I did a lot of things. Literally, photography came as the second thing. I first came to Nairobi. I started learning on Udemy, YouTube, and all those sites.
So that is now tech?
Yeah, tech.
Okay, and then now photography, you enroll in a college?
Yeah, it's in Thika Road. It's called Davasha.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so that was later, and then I decided now to mix them all up. I used to go for classes, do some practice on weekends, and still do a lot of projects on my free time. Also used to take on some freelance projects, backend, Android, and all.
How would you balance? Because I feel like this was a lot of things happening at the same time.
I would say I didn't have a life.
Yeah. So you chose, you left where things were easy, that is campus.
Yeah.
You quit easy life, and then you came and just became.
Literally, that's what I wanted, because
Yeah.
being free was giving me anxiety. I needed to work on something, to
Yeah.
do a lot. So I'm always hungry for information. I'm always curious to learn new things.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be in a space where everything challenges me. I could be broke at any time, so I need to find side hustles. I used to do a lot of broker work. So I used to go sell laptops to people. I used to go sell printers to people on my free time. Then maybe come back in the night to do a lot of coding. When I wake up, I try out some photography, maybe thrice a week after class. Maybe on Sunday, we used to even go with friends to Machakos, People's Park. We will go to 14 Falls in Thika. We'll go for all those road trips just taking photos. I was so busy. Literally, I was getting burnouts, but I just had to do it.
Ah, nice.
I had to balance the two careers.
Is it a personality thing, or it's just what you're going through at that time? It was a stage?
I think it's more of a personality and a mix of the stage, because I just had to keep myself busy. This is the moment my parents need to see me busy, but also for my own good, I need to grow.
Yeah.
So I was doing more on tech rather than photography, because photography is more of an art. You can learn it as you go.
Yeah.
By seeing results, but tech you have to dive deep and learn a lot and practice and see what comes out. So I had to give more time to tech and some little time to photography.
Wow. Okay. That's what I like about the decision that you made to quit campus is because you had clarity.
Yeah.
Of what you wanted, and you're not getting it there. And then also the fact that I don't know how things were, but it sounds like your parents were also willing to understand
supportive.
and supportive you. And I think that's actually something that is impressive of your transition. And you also proved everyone right.
Yeah.
Right or wrong?
Right.
Right. Yeah, and it's fantastic because the reason I'm using right and not wrong is because they invested in you, and because they saw, okay, it makes sense, let's do it. You knew where you're headed, and you decided, I'm gonna go for it, and it worked. So you've already explained why photography and tech. Is there any challenges that you faced in photography, especially as a tech person or someone who is in this journey? And what are just paint to us a picture of your journey in photography. I know you went to college. Was it a short college or it was a longer one?
It was quite short. The program took around 4 months. 3 months was strict learning. Then the 1 month was a project. So they expected you maybe to look for a scene, just tell a story through your work. So if you chose nature, you chose animals and all, and maybe plants, you need just to come up with a story, a project that shows everything that you've been taught. Maybe it's framing, maybe it's long exposure and all those photography concepts. So it was quite hectic, because the school was quite serious also. You will not graduate without proving to them that this is what you are and this is what they want, and maybe come to a baseline. So I first started with that. It was quite easier, let me say, because it was saving time for me. So this is a place where you meet with professionals, and they get to teach you ahead of their mistakes. So you don't have to make mistakes because I'm warned, and they explain, if you do this, this is what happens, and they show it to you. So you don't have to maybe waste a week on something that will not be fruitful. So once I completed, I did a lot of practice on my own time. It was not easy. Photography is an art you have to learn. No matter how much expensive your camera is, a photographer is just a skill. It's your skill, it's art. So it also needs a lot of practice. One of the challenges that I encountered in the long run is time management, because this is tech. I'm up at night, maybe up to 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. reading. Maybe I have to sleep. I used to sleep for maximum 5 hours, at times 4, 3. Never had a good sleep balance.
Yeah.
So it was quite hectic because at times I used to get burnout. I used to be so tired. Or maybe at times you feel I have 2 days where I don't feel like doing anything. I just stress eat or something. But the biggest challenge was time, literally, because photography demands time.
Yeah.
Tech demands time. Yeah.
So this is now when you are doing college.
Yeah, after dropping out, coming to Nairobi.
Coming to Nairobi and then doing college. Okay. So you are purely being trained by professionals in the photography classes?
Yeah.
Okay. And you could tell by the kind of knowledge that they were sharing?
Yeah, the kind of knowledge, the kind of equipments they have.
They have, yeah.
This is something you can even be given a camera almost worth 2 million.
Wow.
And there's so much going on. So each class was a different session. This time maybe you'll be taught about lighting. The next time it's handling your camera body. Then there's something called the exposure triangle where you are taught how to balance lighting and managing different climatic conditions while shooting.
Yeah.
It was a whole wide thing.
Okay.
So yeah, at times they used to have events. At times it was in-class learning. At times it was studio work. So it's a mix of every aspect you'll imagine.
Nice.
Yeah.
And once you are done with the college, were you like confident that you could use the skill for any? Was it? It's in most colleges, like for tech, when you leave college, you rarely can do anything with the skill.
Imposter.
It takes a while.
Yeah.
So with photography, the training that you got, was it plug and play?
So I started shooting the moment I joined, literally a week after.
Okay.
So
because of the passion, eh?
yeah, but I never understood what I was doing.
Okay.
This is the kind of time where you'll tell a person to pose, and then you'll take 50 photos before you get the one good one. Because I don't understand lighting, I don't understand timing, I don't understand framing, and maybe how to create a whole composition out of your photo. So it was quite challenging, but I just dived in.
Yeah.
So I used to go to events. Maybe it's our friend's hike. Maybe we are going to a small event like those Rora shows and all.
Yeah.
We'll just try my best.
You take initiative and start practicing.
If I get a challenge, I used to turn back my camera at auto. But what's really helped me is just going to the manual side. So over time, after the second, third week, it started coming. I go to class, learn something, and then I correct my mistakes, and I understand that I had this challenge because I never knew this. I go practice, I master it. So one of the things that really helped me move faster, I used to do a lot of free shoots. Just come call friends, I tell you, let's go to Huru Park, let's do this. Or here someone has a small wedding, I just come shoot for free. Because I realized if I offer my service for free, more people will be willing, rather than maybe come charge you and you won't get value for your service. So I did a lot of events. Literally, I filled 2 TB of hard drives with those free events.
Okay.
So it really helped me to practice, because there are some challenges you get out there on the actual work that you'll not even imagine. So that's how I learned faster.
It's good that you are getting into the details of photography, because I wanted to get there. First of all, how do you know that this is good photography? Like how do you get that the photographer's eye? Like, because I know like in Kenya we used to have the old photographers, the ones for Uhuru Park, they call it, and then
paparazzi.
The paparazzi ones. And then paparazzi doesn't mean the media paparazzi. It means guys who walk asking you, do you want a photo? And then they charge you 50 bob. Yeah. So there are so how do you, from your experience, how do you know that a photography is good? A photograph is good, or is of good quality?
Maybe I'll talk about the whole essence of your photo.
Okay.
There are 3 aspects. Maybe there's something you have to see, there's something you have to feel, and there's something you need to hear. By hearing, I don't mean that the photograph will speak, but
sound.
It has to tell a story. So one, when I look at the photo, this is the most basic. I need to see a balance in lighting. I need to see that the subject was well prepared. I need to see that even your environment and the whole composition is literally good.
Okay.
So literally, I'll just give an example. Maybe I'm taking a portrait and one photo, someone has a whole meter to this side rather than this. There's something called rule of thirds. So if you're doing rule of thirds, that's something that you really need to understand. How do I place someone on a third of a grid or something, or maybe a different ratio?
Okay.
But there are those basic rules that a photographer must know when it comes to looking at a photo.
Okay.
Then filling a photo, I might just look at the photo and the way you arrange your composition. For example, if it's a newborn, maybe it's a mother in ragged clothes and just holding a baby so happy, it will give me emotion. So I have to tell something. If it's a sad photo, I have to see the sadness. If it's nature, I have to feel how real this nature shot is.
Yeah.
If it's something else, I just have to relate with what's going on.
Yeah.
Then how well did you arrange your composition? Does it tell a story? From if I see your photo, maybe it's a car there and then there's audiences behind, there's a truck, I could tell that this is a sports event, maybe people are racing. So if your photo does not have a story, it's not really a good photo. So it's a whole balance between these aspects, and there's so much more from apart from what I've said. So it's a skill that you also need to learn. Yesterday my photo was good. After 2 years, that will be your worst photo.
Yeah.
Because you're growing, and that's really what separates the good photographers from the standard photographers.
If you don't, like, let's say guys are in a celebration mood, but you never get people smiling. Let's say it's a wedding. Guys are not smiling in a wedding, but it's supposed to be a celebratory mood. Eh? How do you ensure that you capture that?
Unless it's a burial, mostly people are smiling in a wedding. So once in a while you could find such a moment, especially when time really moves and people are tired.
Yeah.
At times you might be forced to crack jokes. It's so hard, honestly. It's not ever everybody is happy in an event, especially nearing lunchtime. People are usually so hungry and gloomy and all. So also as a photographer, you also know your highs and lows. There are times you don't really need to take photos.
Yeah.
Especially maybe the arrival, you'll take the outfits and all, how people are marching in if it's a well-organized event. Maybe if it's during lunchtime, you just hold off and maybe take back photos of people queuing once in a while, take photos of the food. You just have to be strategic about the whole thing. Yeah. But if you notice the mood is not quite right, you don't have to do it. So at times, even when you're doing videos, you'll have to do cutaways. Because at times...
What are cutaways?
Cutaways is when you just have to have segments of videos.
Segments, okay.
In simpler terms. You have to do shots.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just have to know your event. You have to feel it and you have to own the moment. So there's a time to shoot, there's a time not to shoot, there's a time to wait, and there's a time where you have to create the scene. So at times you have to tell a story, crack jokes, especially if you are having an event full of children. You'll have to be funny, dress for the event. You can't come
to get their emotion out.
To kids. So you have to fit in first, feel the mood, and then if you have to create a different mood, that's on you.
Okay, let me, because I don't know if I'm right or I'm wrong, just correct me. I often thought that good photography is when you don't interfere with your subject environment. It's like the National Geographic moment where the photographers and the videographers should not interfere with how the animals live. They should just prey in quotes on them with the camera on whatever is happening. Is it right or wrong?
It's very right, but depends.
Okay.
So at times photography has no rules. There are times, depending on an event, especially if it's very carelessly planned, you'll have to do that, which is not so good because you might end up boring people more. So the biggest thing is you need to know when to take your video, you need to know when to take your photos, especially if it's a very big event or it's a private event with high profiles. You can't go talking to people. At times you're just in the shadows. Yeah. So you need to know how to capture your different angles. People might look gloomy, but I might change my angle depending also on the situation and the event, what's going on, and make it like look a little bit different. So it all depends with your skill. So if I notice one part of the congregation is so gloomy, I can maybe concentrate on a separate side as I also record this, and then when I'm doing my editing, I'll just try to bring in a mood by my cutaways. So it's a whole skill. There's no rule to that. If it's a very sad event, let it be sad. It also has to be real. If it's a wedding, if you have a very sad wedding now, that's a problem. Some jobs are also boring for us because you might go to an event and you feel sleepy, you get tired half day. So these things happen, and at times, as much as you try, you might just have to present the event as it was. Okay. Yeah.
Guys, this has been very informative. We want to move to part 2. I think, are you down for part 2?
Yeah.
Cool. He's down for part 2. Let's do part 2. So imeisha, unaona iko nini?
Yenye hizo lights mchezo.
Hiyo lights mchezo. Alafu advantage ya kuchukua hizi breaks pia inasaidianga.
Una relax.
Because moja ya kwanza inakuanga you are not, it's a bit stiff.
Ujui nini